Hello, welcome to the Continuum Hypothesis is True channel. I've done quite a number of videos on quite a number of subjects, generally related to philosophy and mathematics. Today I would like to discuss, maybe continue a little bit on the Asperger or the spectrum theme. I'd like to discuss Albert Einstein. It has been speculated upon that he may have been on the spectrum. It's not a provable hypothesis. It's not something that we can say for sure, but it's an interesting thought because he would be an example of somebody on the spectrum making good. In particular, I'd like to discuss what I would call the Einstein mythos. Now, I'm going to use the term mythos in the way that anthropologists would use the term mythos. It doesn't mean, oh, it's a myth, it's false. What it means is a kind of non-judgmental way of looking at the life of Einstein and how it's become an archetype for our society. And why I believe it's a positive archetype, but also possibly some dangers around the Einstein archetype for those who might be susceptible to its allure. People like a lot of my audience, okay? People who are on the spectrum, people who are interested in physics and mathematics. Why it is we have to be careful in how we understand Albert Einstein. Two competing narratives. One is Einstein failed at school, okay, and he failed at school, but look what he became. The other is, and you can Google that, and you can find all sorts of websites debunking that. No, he was brilliant at physics and mathematics from when he was a very early age. He studied calculus at a very early age. The truth is far more complex than either one of these rather simplistic narratives. You get the feeling that the debunkers are educators who want kids to study in school. They have a political agenda, and you also get the feeling that some of the those on the failure side are missing the point also. There may be a little bit of self-justification there. Einstein was never at any point in his life intellectually lazy. The problem was with the school system as it was regimented and it was cookie cutter. And Einstein was not. He was not a militarist, he was not a Prussian, he was not about to fit into the school system of the time, which was very hierarchical and very regimented. He had a lot of problems there. Einstein was driven in certain subjects, namely physics and mathematics, and he succeeded in those very well. But being driven by his interests and by his passions, which is one possible sign of being on the spectrum, but not necessarily unique to the spectrum. I think people speculate that he was on the spectrum due to a lot of other traits as well. Okay, and again, it's not provable one way or the other, or disprovable for that matter, but in any case, I'm not going to dwell too much on the spectrum issue, although I might try to bring it back later on if I have time. The point is, Einstein was his own course material, if you want to think of it like that. He was neither a success nor a failure. He was his own course of study. Light, magnetism, eventually at some point in his life, gravitation. Einstein was continually engaging in thought experiments from a very, very, very early age. Now, his intellectual development was very, very complicated, okay, because on the one hand, he studied calculus at a very early age, but on the other hand, when he was in university, he didn't show up to classes a lot and relied on notes. And when he graduated, he couldn't find a job for quite a number of years, and eventually got a job as a patent clerk. So we have two different models of who Einstein was, and we have to fit them together. And I think that, to be honest with you, the issue of the spectrum would be a way of potentially fitting them together. A lot of people on the spectrum are their own course material. Okay, they are their own course of study. Okay, whatever your interests are, those are your passions. With Einstein, it was magnetism, electricity, light, okay. And when he eventually formulated special relativity as a patent clerk, what you have to understand is that the original form of the theory did not require all this higher level math and physics. There's another bunch of turkeys out there promoting the idea that he really stole it from his wife, or he stole it from David Hilbert, or he stole it from... They're missing the point, okay? The actual mathematics of special relativity, the 1905 relativity, was algebraic and it was trigonometric. An intelligent high school student can understand it. Now, he had 10 years between special relativity and general relativity. General relativity, believe me, he got a crash course in mathematics, including, his wife helped him, David Hilbert, and a lot of other people, okay? But and then general relativity definitely relies on some high level mathematics, okay? That's not so easy to understand unless you're brilliant. Here's the rub, though. At every point in time, the intuitions were definitely his own. The idea of making light a constant and changing the other physical constants, that's counterintuitive. That came to him in a flash of intuition. The intuition of somebody who was his own course material, in essence. Now, I want to say something about the failure. There's some issue around the grade, whether one is... there might be some misunderstanding where a 6 was success, but that there's a grade of 1 through 6, and that there might be some confusion as to which scale is excellent and which scale is failure. It kind of misses the point, because if you look at the report card, one is a 6 and one grade is a 6 and another is a 1. So no matter which way you read that, he did fail one course. Okay, if you look at it on there, he did fail his entrance exams at one point. And it's acknowledged in the literature that there were times when he did not show up to class. One of his professors called him a lazy dog, and he never really denied that. Although that one professor went on to help him formulate his philosophy of space-time. The idea of space and time as, well, you understand what I'm saying, the space-time continuum, that whole idea. Okay, so... again, when you are your own course material, you're neither a success nor a failure. You're driven. And that, I believe, is what Einstein was. And so the idea that, well, if you study hard, you can be the next Einstein. I want to sound a warning on this one. There will be no next Einstein, any more than Einstein was the next Newton. Einstein was unique as an individual. There is no one who can be Einstein, whether he was on the spectrum or not. And I suspect that the way that he failed to conform suggests some spectrum tendencies, okay? But whether you're on the spectrum or not, do not console yourself that with your failures you will be the next Einstein. It's not the point. It was not the failure of somebody who was apathetic and lazy intellectually. Even though he maybe did not do so well in his humanities courses, he would eventually go on to write essays on political theory. He read philosophy, Kant. Okay, it wasn't that he was intellectually lazy and did not pass non-physics or non-mathematics related courses. It's that he had a self-contained intellect. Now, for those of you with self-contained intellects who might be consoling yourself with this, I want to sound a note of caution about the potential dark side of the Einstein mythos. And by mythos, I mean archetype. Okay, not falsehood, but archetype. At any moment in time, Einstein might have failed, and by which I mean in the true sense of what that means. Not getting the patent clerk position. Not sending his articles on special relativity out and not getting any response back. Or maybe Sir Arthur Eddington, in 1921, when it was confirming relativity, maybe it would have rained over or something like that. So I often wonder how many potential Einsteins are out there who never get recognized because the events in their lives never add up, or they're just never able to make it. Remember that if you do choose to use Einstein as a model for charting your own life, what you have to remember is that there are potential dangers in that. The universe isn't necessarily set up for you to succeed. That's not its purpose for being. So be aware of that. And be aware that those of you who are either on the spectrum or just radical individualists, you have to be prepared for all probabilities in that way. Thank you.